Let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Hey, this is my ex-husband, she smiled, waving casually. He hadn't even taken off his uniform yet. 6 months at war, and she erased him in 6 seconds. Daniel Reeves stepped out of the cab, boots hitting the curb like dead weight. He hadn't slept in 30 hours. He didn't care. The flight from Baghdad to Frankfurt to D.C., and finally to Raleigh had drained him, but adrenaline powered his every step. He wasn't supposed to be home for another 2 weeks, but a last-minute leave and a quiet favor from a CO gave him the element of surprise. The front lawn looked the same, freshly mowed. A plastic dinosaur in the mulch bed, the one his son Mason left behind when they played Jurassic Yard before deployment. He adjusted his duffel on one shoulder. Still wearing full fatigues, desert-dusted and wrinkled, boots scuffed and worn. He smiled. Amanda would probably yell at him for tracking dirt into the house. He reached the porch, heard laughter, new voices, strange voices. The door was half open. Someone said, "This house is beautiful, and the neighborhood's so quiet." Amanda's voice replied, smooth, polished, a little too bright. "We love it here. It's a fresh start for me and Mason." A man answered next. "Well, it looks like you've got everything together." Daniel stepped inside, and that's when it happened. Amanda turned, saw him, and for a heartbeat, her smile faltered. Then she stepped toward the neighbors, 2 of them, man and woman, maybe mid-30s, and said, without flinching, "Hey, this is my ex-husband." She smiled, waved her hand like Daniel was some forgotten college boyfriend showing up at her reunion. Daniel froze. His hand still held the doorknob. His ears rang, not from shellfire, but from that word. "XX," he said, like the syllable didn't compute. His voice cracked. Amanda blinked. Her smile tightened. "Daniel, it's not what, I'm sorry," the woman neighbor said awkwardly, stepping back with her iced tea. "We didn't mean to interrupt." No, Amanda rushed. "It's fine. We're co-parenting. Everything's civil. Right, Dan?" Daniel dropped his duffel. He looked past Amanda, into the living room. A man's jacket was draped over the arm of the couch. There were 2 wine glasses on the coffee table. The framed family portrait he remembered, gone, replaced with a canvas print of just Amanda and Mason. "Mason, where's my son?" Daniel asked. His voice dropped low. Amanda tensed. "He's at Mom's for the weekend. I just flew halfway across the world," Daniel said, stepping forward now. 6 months, Amanda. 6 months. You never said a word." The male neighbor looked between them like he was trapped in a live reality show. Maybe we should go." "Yes," Daniel snapped, eyes locked on Amanda. "You should." The neighbors practically backed out the door. Daniel watched them leave. Amanda stood across from him, arms folded now, defensive. "You weren't supposed to be home yet," she said. He stepped forward again. "So you thought you had time to erase me first?" Amanda looked away. "It's not that simple." "No? Because from where I'm standing, it's pretty damn simple." "Lower your voice," she hissed. Daniel took another step. "You introduced me as your ex-husband while I'm still serving in uniform. In the house I paid for. After 6 months of eating dust and dodging mortar fire. This is the homecoming I get." She swallowed. "We need to talk. But not like this." "Then how?" he snapped. "Should I have knocked first? Scheduled an appointment with your new boyfriend." Amanda didn't answer. Instead, she picked up one of the wine glasses and carried it to the kitchen. Her back turned, her voice cooled. "I filed for divorce 2 months ago." Daniel's stomach dropped. "No papers. No email. No word." "I sent the papers." "You never replied." "To where?" "I didn't even have a fixed base for weeks. I sent them to your sister. I assumed she'd forward them." Daniel's jaw clenched. "You assumed?" Amanda turned back, glass still in hand. "Dan, you've been gone. For almost a year, counting training. I'm raising Mason alone. I couldn't wait forever. I didn't ask you to." "No, but you didn't ask me anything. You just left." He stepped forward, his boots hitting hardwood like gunfire. "I left to provide for you. For our son. I needed a partner, Not a soldier, she said. But you were always fighting something. Even here. Daniel went silent. Then something clicked. A flicker in Amanda's eyes. The rushed explanation. The fact she was ready for this confrontation. And that's when it started to feel off. Calculated. Too clean. You said you filed, he muttered. Fine. Then where's the paperwork? Show me. Amanda hesitated. It's at my lawyer's. You have a lawyer. Already. Yes. I told you. No, Amanda, Daniel said, walking past her now. His boots moved with purpose. He scanned the counters, the drawers. You didn't tell me anything. You ghosted me. While I was still deployed. She said nothing. In the kitchen trash, he saw it. A receipt from 2 days ago. Dinner for two at a high-end steakhouse. Her handwriting on the back. Ask Jordan about school recs. Jordan. Daniel turned. Who's Jordan? Amanda's eyes flicked away. He stepped closer. Is that the guy whose jacket's on my couch? Her silence answered. He turned and walked toward the hallway. Where are you going? She called. To see if my son still remembers me, he shot back. He's not here, Dan. Then I'll wait. Amanda grabbed his arm. Don't do this. He yanked free. You already did. He sat on the couch. The jacket, dark wool, expensive. He picked it up and tossed it across the room. Amanda stood there, arms folded again, breathing hard. Daniel looked around the room. Everything had changed. Furniture rearranged. Pictures swapped. Even the scent, vanilla instead of lavender. The entire home felt like it had been scrubbed of him. Did you think I'd just never come back? He asked. She didn't answer. And that silence? It said more than anything. Outside, the neighbors' voices faded. Inside, it was war again. But this time, the wounds wouldn't bleed. They'd rot. Daniel sat, fists clenched, staring straight ahead. She thought she could introduce him as her ex and move on. She had no idea. This wasn't the end. It was the opening shot. The next morning was too quiet. Daniel sat at the edge of the guest bed, his old office, now stripped of every trace of him. The framed medals were gone. The bookshelf with his deployment logs, gone. Even his Marine Corps graduation photo, the one Amanda once proudly showed off, had vanished. In its place, a hanging mirror. Decorative. Soulless. He stared at it like it might blink. Amanda had left early. Said she had errands. Said she'd check in later. That was 8 hours ago. He didn't believe a damn word of it. The house still held shadows of his life. The dent in the wall from when Mason crashed his toy truck. The barely visible marker stain on the hallway baseboard from Amanda's failed attempt at homeschooling art day. But the soul of it? That was gutted. Sanitized. Like he'd never lived there. He opened a closet, once packed with his uniforms, boxes of letters, old boots. Now filled with labeled bins. Mason's winter, craft supplies, seasonal decor. At the bottom, one bin had no label. He cracked it open. Inside, a stack of mail, unopened. His name on nearly every envelope. Postmarked months ago. He shuffled through them, one after another. Bank statements. A notice from the VA. A missed court summons for a custody review hearing. And then, a manila envelope. From a law office. He tore it open. Divorce papers. Filed. Signed. Stamped. Filed 3 months ago. Signed by Amanda. Stamped without his signature. He froze. There was a note stapled to the top. From a paralegal named Jenna Collins. We've been informed that Mr. Reeve is stationed abroad. As per our conversation, we will proceed with alternate service methods per North Carolina statute. Please confirm no further contact is expected. Alternate service. She had filed without his knowledge and pushed it through the system without even speaking to him. And his sister? The one Amanda said she sent the forms to? She lived in a trailer park 2 counties over and didn't own a printer, much less know how to handle legal mail. Daniel's hands shook. This wasn't a divorce. This was an ambush. By noon, he drove out to his sister's place. A rust-bitten mobile home on a gravel road lined with pit bulls and sagging fences. The air smelled like cigarettes and regret. She opened the door in a bathrobe, squinting. Dan, you get anything from Amanda? He asked. No hello. No? What? Legal papers. Certified. A divorce packet. She blinked. Hell no. You think I'd keep that from you? He exhaled. That's what I thought. She stepped aside. You want a beer? No time. She looked him over. You look like hell. Feel like worse. She leaned against the doorframe, lit a cigarette. Want me to talk to her? No, want me to hit her? He smiled. Just a little. No, but inside, something was shifting. No tears. No panic. Something else. Control. That night, Amanda didn't come home. But she did text him. Mason's staying with me at Jordan's for a few days. I think we both need space. Daniel stared at the screen. Jordan. Not just a boyfriend. He was playing dad now. Daniel closed the message. Opened his laptop. He hadn't touched his secure files in months. But the military taught him to record everything. Track timelines. Gather intelligence. He opened a spreadsheet. He named it Operation Reclamation. Column 1. Assets Amanda controls. Column 2. Legal moves taken without my consent. Column 3. Individuals to monitor. Column 4. Custody irregularities. He pulled up Amanda's Facebook. Private now. Her Instagram? Still public. She'd posted pictures at the lake last weekend. Mason, Amanda, and Jordan. Jordan's face was clearly visible. So was his hand on Amanda's back. In another post, Mason sat on his shoulders. Daniel's jaw flexed. He reverse searched the username Amanda tagged at Jordan__Slater. Within 2 minutes, he had a LinkedIn. Jordan Slater, Senior Mortgage Advisor, Whitley Partners Financial, based in Raleigh. Bachelor's in Finance. Divorced. No kids. A picture-perfect replacement. Until Daniel found the Yelp reviews. 2 accusations of forging loan documents. 1 flagged by a client's lawyer. Nothing proven, but the whispers were there. A man like that? Amanda didn't meet him by accident. He clicked save. The next morning, Daniel went to the county clerk's office. Small town. Only 1 woman working the counter. I need a copy of my divorce case file, he said. Name. Daniel Reeve. Filed by Amanda Reeve. Around 3 months ago. She typed. Clicked. Blinked. It's sealed. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What? The motion was granted to seal the record for privacy. Children involved. I'm one of the parents. Still sealed unless you file a motion. Daniel leaned in. Was it filed by a lawyer named Lisa Traynor? She hesitated, then nodded slowly. You're not supposed to know that. I know everything I need to. He walked out with nothing but more proof. Amanda had lawyered up before even telling him she wanted out. This wasn't a breakup. It was a premeditated erasure. That night, Daniel parked 2 blocks away from a tan brick duplex in West Raleigh. Amanda's car was there. So was a dark gray Tesla. Jordan's. Daniel didn't approach the house. He had no weapon, no backup, and no legal standing. Instead, he pulled out his phone, clicked record, then zoomed in on the front porch. Amanda stepped out laughing. In a silk robe, Mason trailed behind her, holding a juice box. Jordan followed, shirtless, confident, casual. He kissed Amanda on the cheek, then ruffled Mason's hair. Daniel lowered the phone, and for the first time in weeks, he didn't feel rage. He felt focus. Back at the house, he opened a hidden compartment in his military duffel. Inside, a USB drive. He plugged it in. Encrypted. Secure. One of the files was labeled Home Security Export. March, he played it. Security cam footage from their old Nest system, before Amanda changed the password. At 3:12 a.m., 3 months ago, Amanda stood in the kitchen with Jordan. He kissed her neck, whispered something. She laughed. In the background, Mason walked out, rubbing his eyes. Amanda didn't even flinch. She just picked him up and said, "Say goodnight to Uncle Jordan." Jordan waved. Daniel hit pause. He took a breath, then clicked save as. New file name. Perjury_exhibit_MOV. He wasn't ready to move yet. But the groundwork was laid. Amanda had stolen his life. Now he was building a new one, on the ruins of hers. The house felt colder now. Daniel didn't turn on the heat. Didn't sleep in the master bedroom. Just the guest room. His old office. For walls, a mattress on the floor, and the hum of a ceiling fan that never stopped spinning. He didn't need comfort. He needed clarity. The file he had just saved, perjury_exhibit_MOV, was still open on his laptop. Frozen on the frame where Amanda stood smiling, arms wrapped around Jordan, while their son stood in the background. Uncle Jordan, she'd said. She was already lying to Mason. And if she was lying to him, what else was she capable of? He clicked on another tab. A burner email account he'd created an hour ago. Under the alias Michael Dean, he began writing. 2. Child Protective Services, tip submission, subject, possible custody misconduct involving minor. Good evening. I am submitting this as an anonymous report concerning potential inappropriate cohabitation and behavioral manipulation involving a minor, Mason Reeve, age 5. I believe the mother, Amanda Reeve, may be exposing her son to a non-relative male who has previously been accused of financial fraud. Attached is a video for review. Please verify if any custody court decisions involved all biological parents. Concerned witness, he hit send. That wasn't the endgame. That was a feint, a test to see how deep Amanda's lies went. Now came step 2, building his own version of the truth. A version rooted in hard evidence. He needed someone inside. The next morning, Daniel drove to a gym just outside Durham. Iron Box Athletics. Gray brick. Unassuming. The kind of place filled with ex-cops, ex-Marines, and a few guys who'd been both. Inside, it smelled like metal, sweat, and competition. Behind the counter was a man in a backwards cap, rapping his knuckles. Tattoos up both arms. Scar above the eye. Mike Garrow, once his squad mate in Mosul, now a private security consultant and part-time cage fighter. Holy SH, Mike grinned. Reeve, Daniel stepped forward. They shook hands, tight, respectful. I thought you were still overseas. Came back early. Mike looked him over. You didn't come here to lift weights. Nope. All right. Office is in the back. They sat in a room barely big enough for a desk and 2 chairs. Surveillance feeds on the wall, a locked gun safe in the corner. Daniel pulled out a folder, dropped it on the desk. Photos, printed screenshots. One from the Nest footage. Another from Amanda's Instagram. A third, a printed Yelp review about Jordan's fraudulent behavior. Mike scanned them. You building a case? I'm building a war file. You want him gone? No. I want him exposed. I want her exposed. Mike sat back. You ever think about just taking the kid and disappearing? No, Daniel said. Because I'm not like them. Mike nodded. All right. What do you need? Daniel laid it out. Background check on Jordan Slater. Employment, court records, aliases, vehicle tracking. Find out where he's sleeping, who he's meeting, phone number trace. Amanda and Jordan both social media scraping, private posts, deleted content, metadata. Mike scratched his beard. That's doable. You got a timeline. As fast as you can make it legal. Mike raised an eyebrow. Legal. I want this airtight. Court admissible. If I go in with half-truths, I lose Mason. Mike nodded. Then we play by the book. Mostly. Daniel stood up. Start tonight. You paying? Daniel dropped an envelope. Inside, $3,000 in cash. Mike whistled. Okay, Marine. Let's do this. Back at the house, Daniel logged into Mason's old iPad. Amanda had tried to reset it, but she'd missed one thing. The Apple ID was still tied to Daniel's name. And under that ID was Find My Device. He clicked Mason's iPad. It pinged. Active. The location blinked. An apartment complex near Jordan's office. He zoomed in. Unit 2C. They weren't just sleeping over. They were living there. Amanda had moved Mason in with another man without informing the court, or Daniel. That was custodial interference. He took a screenshot of the map, then did something risky. He clicked the camera app, remotely activated. It blinked on. For a second, it was dark. Then, Mason came into view, lying on a couch, watching a cartoon. Alone. No Amanda. No Jordan. A 5-year-old left alone with an unlocked iPad and no supervision. Daniel hit record. This wasn't just neglect. It was evidence. The next morning, Mike called. Got something, he said. Daniel drove straight to the gym. Mike handed him a manila folder. Jordan Slater, fired from a mortgage firm in Charlotte 2 years ago. They settled quietly, accused of falsifying signatures to push bad loans through. Never charged. Daniel flipped the page. Keep going. He changed addresses 4 times in 2 years. Filed bankruptcy once. 2 civil suits, 1 pending. Guess what they have in common? What? The plaintiffs both claim he pressured single mothers into co-signing leases they couldn't afford. One of them said he faked relationship photos to help qualify for better credit terms. Daniel exhaled. Mike leaned in. Amanda's not the first woman he's done this with. Daniel's fists clenched. How solid is the paper trail? Mike grinned. It'll hold up in court. Or in the court of public opinion. By Friday, Daniel had built a dossier. He called it Operation Full Custody. Inside, copies of sealed divorce documents, showing Amanda's attempt to bypass him, video footage of Mason, unattended social media metadata, proving Amanda lied about Jordan's role, screenshots of financial inconsistencies in Amanda's shared accounts, prior history of Jordan's fraud allegations. Now he needed the kill shot. A signature slip-up. Something Amanda couldn't lie her way out of. He set a meeting with Lisa Traynor, Amanda's lawyer. He wore a pressed shirt, jeans, no uniform. Clean-shaven. Calm. Lisa didn't expect him. He introduced himself at the front desk, and when she stepped into the lobby, her face dropped. I'm here to request disclosure, he said. Client lied about service. I have proof. You proceeded illegally. We followed protocol. He dropped a copy of the certified mail log. No confirmation of delivery. You filed under alternate service, but used my sister's address and never verified receipt. That's violation of procedural fairness. She stiffened. You're bluffing. I was deployed. Overseas. No notice, no consent. I've got every email between me and Amanda from that time. Want to see the timestamps? Lisa hesitated. He leaned in. Withdraw the case. Or I file for immediate reversal. And then, I go public. Lisa said nothing. Daniel left the office knowing he'd just pulled a pin Amanda hadn't seen coming. That night, he sat on the couch. The same one Jordan had used. The same one he bought with Amanda when they were still happy. He lit a candle. Not for mood, but for presence. He pulled out a notebook. Not typed. Handwritten. He listed every day since he came home. What Amanda did. Where she lied. How she twisted the narrative. Each page had a title. Day 1. The introduction. Day 2. The erasure. Day 3. The surveillance begins. Day 4. Proof of life. Day 5. Custody violation. Each day was a step. A breadcrumb trail back to the truth. He wasn't documenting just for himself. He was preparing for something bigger. Public. Unavoidable. A reckoning. Because Amanda thought she could rewrite the story. But Daniel? He was writing the ending. Sunday morning brought silence. Daniel stood in the kitchen of the house he no longer recognized. The fridge was stocked with oat milk, kale, and wine. None of that was his. The coffee maker was new. The sugar jar was gone. Mason's old step stool disappeared. Amanda hadn't just moved on. She'd reprogrammed the house like he never existed. But she'd missed something. One drawer still held his old field journal. Mason's birth time scribbled on the inside cover. And right behind it, the lease agreement. His name on it. Co-signer. Owner. This wasn't her house. It was their house. He flipped the lease and highlighted the clause Amanda clearly ignored. No additional adult residence permitted without written consent of all leaseholders. Jordan living here? Without Daniel's approval? Lease violation. One more item for the growing list. That afternoon, Daniel walked into the Wake County Courthouse with a binder under his arm. His posture was military straight. His boots were clean. Civilian clothes. But his presence still radiated command. He filed a petition for temporary emergency custody. The clerk looked up at him as he laid down the documents. He said calmly, "The child is living with an unapproved adult, while the mother is filing legal paperwork without the father's knowledge. I have video evidence. I've included notarized screenshots and sworn affidavits." He wasn't angry. He was methodical, strategic. This wasn't war. It was precision targeting. Amanda didn't know yet. She would. But first, he needed to see her. Face to face. Not in his house. Not on neutral ground. In public. Somewhere she couldn't lie or twist or avoid. So he waited. And just like he predicted, Monday morning she posted a story on Instagram. Breakfast run with my boys, a geotag pinged a trendy cafe downtown. Daniel was already parked across the street when it went up. He walked in 15 minutes later. Amanda was sitting at a two-top near the window, Jordan across from her, Mason between them, coloring a menu with a crayon. She didn't notice Daniel until he was 2 feet away. He didn't make a scene. He just leaned down, smiled at Mason. "Hey, buddy." Mason's eyes lit up. "Daddy." Amanda flinched. Jordan tensed. Daniel stood up. "Glad to see he remembers me." Amanda's tone sharpened. "Dan, not here." Daniel pulled out a folded paper and placed it on the table. "Custody hearing. Friday morning. You've been served." Jordan started to rise. Daniel didn't even look at him. "This is between me and the mother of my son." Amanda looked at the paper like it was a bomb. Daniel turned to Mason. "I'll see you soon, okay? You be strong." Mason nodded. "Okay." Daniel walked out. No shouting. No drama. But he knew Amanda's world just shifted. That night, she called. "Are you insane?" she snapped. "Dragging Mason into this? Filing for emergency custody." Daniel's voice stayed calm. "You moved our son into a stranger's apartment. Lied in court. Falsified documents. Left him unattended with an open iPad that pinged your address. You're spying on us? I'm documenting. There's a difference. You're destroying everything." "No," he said. "I'm correcting it." Silence. "Then, you don't know what he's done for me, do you?" Daniel asked. "You know about the 2 women before you? The bankruptcy? The fake leases? You know what kind of fraud follows him around like a shadow?" More silence. "I'll see you in court," he said, then hung up. He spent the next 2 days building the final case binder. Inside, screenshots of Jordan living at Amanda's place, lease agreement clause proving it violated housing rules, video from Mason's iPad. Timestamped. Location verified phone log showing Amanda cut communication without cause, signed statement from his sister confirming no legal mail was delivered, printout of Jordan's past fraud cases and civil suits, proof Amanda filed under alternate service, dishonestly sworn log of every day Daniel attempted to contact his son. He clipped the final page. A smiling photo of him and Mason before deployment, both in mini camo, holding American flags. Across the top, he wrote in black ink, "This is who you're trying to erase." Friday morning came fast. Daniel walked into the courtroom alone. Amanda sat at the plaintiff's table, arms folded, tight dress, too much perfume. Jordan sat in the back row, hands in his lap, silent. The judge, a woman in her late 50s, entered and took her seat. "Reeve versus Reeve, motion for emergency custody review," the clerk announced. Daniel stepped forward, and for the next 45 minutes, he laid out everything. The surveillance, the video, the housing violations, the lies and legal filings, the erasure attempt. Amanda interrupted once. The judge shut her down. "Mrs. Reeve, you'll speak when asked." Daniel continued. He finished with the nest footage. Amanda letting Jordan kiss her in the kitchen, calling him Uncle Jordan, while Mason watched. "I left to serve this country," Daniel said, voice steady. "I came back to find my life rewritten by someone who was supposed to protect it. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for the right to be a father." The courtroom was silent. Even Amanda looked shaken now. The judge turned to her. "Do you have a response?" Amanda stammered. "He was never around. I didn't think he cared. And he didn't ask about any of this." The judge cut her off. "Did you inform the court that the child was living in a residence with a non-relative male?" "No," Amanda admitted. "Did you pursue legal counsel to file and seal documents without the respondent's knowledge?" "Yes." "Did you falsify a service address?" I used what I thought was valid." "That's a yes," the judge snapped. Amanda went quiet. The judge leaned back. "Custody will be immediately reviewed. Temporary custody will be granted to the father for the next 30 days while a full investigation is launched. Visitation will be supervised. Mother is instructed not to interfere with the child's digital devices or communication. Any attempt to influence or restrict the father's access will be considered a violation. Amanda's mouth fell open. Daniel didn't smile. He just nodded once, respectfully. Justice wasn't loud. It was cold and final. Outside the courthouse, Amanda caught up to him. "You think this is over?" she hissed. "No," Daniel said. "It's just starting. You ruined my life." He stepped closer. "No, Amanda. You tried to erase mine. I just reminded the world I still exist." She slapped him. He didn't flinch, then walked away. That night, he picked up Mason from Amanda's mother's house. The boy ran into his arms like nothing had changed. Daniel lifted him high, spun him once, then whispered, "You're safe now." At home, Daniel tucked Mason into bed. Same room, same dinosaur lamp, same stuffed tiger. When the boy drifted to sleep, Daniel sat in the living room. He opened his notebook, turned to the latest page. Day 11. The custody weapon, he wrote one line beneath it. "She used the courts to erase me. I used the truth to erase the lie." He wasn't done yet. Amanda still had secrets, and Daniel still had one card left to play, one that would change everything. Monday morning, Daniel made pancakes. Not from a box, from scratch, just the way Mason liked them. Banana slices on top, 2 eyes and a smile. The boy giggled and reached for the syrup with tiny hands. "Careful," Daniel said. "Don't drown him." Mason grinned. He likes syrup. Daniel laughed. A real one. First in months. But behind the smile, something gnawed at him. Amanda had fallen apart in court. She'd lost control of the narrative. But one thing still didn't add up. Jordan. Why risk bringing a man like that into Mason's life? Why rewrite Daniel out of it completely? Why seal the court files like there was something to hide? There was more to this. He could feel it. That afternoon, while Mason napped on the couch, Daniel opened a drawer in the guest room. The same drawer Amanda once filled with old bills and junk mail. Tucked in the back was a folder labeled Medical MR. He opened it. Routine pediatric reports. A vaccination log. Nothing odd. Until he spotted one sheet marked Blood Panel Summary, September 14th, just 3 weeks after he deployed. He scanned it quickly, then froze. Under Parental Genetic Profile was a flag. Father's DNA unavailable. Sample substituted for maternal match. That didn't make sense. Before he deployed, the doctor had taken samples from both him and Amanda for long-term health tracking. It was standard at the military clinic. All documented. So why was his DNA listed as unavailable? And what did sample substituted even mean? Daniel's pulse picked up. He turned on his laptop, logged into his old TRICARE portal. The military DNA records were there. Still active. He pulled his own file, downloaded the raw data. Then he searched, at-home DNA test for paternity, fast processing. 3 clicks. 1 kit ordered. He labeled it under a friend's name. Discreet shipping. In 4 days, he'd have the truth. But truth doesn't wait for permission. That night, while brushing Mason's teeth, the boy said something strange. "Mom said I was your little guy, but Jordan says I'm just her son." Daniel paused. "What do you mean, buddy?" Mason shrugged, mouth full of foam. "He says I'm not yours, but I don't believe him." Daniel knelt down, wiped Mason's mouth with a towel. "You're my son, Mason. Always." The boy looked into his eyes. Then why did he say that? Daniel didn't answer. Because he didn't know. 4 days later, the envelope arrived. Plain brown. No logo. He opened it with surgical precision. Inside, a single-page report. Across the top, paternity analysis, alleged father, Daniel Reeve child, Mason Reeve. Beneath that, probability of paternity, 0%. Daniel didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. He stared at the number. 0. Not low. Not questionable. 0. He folded the paper slowly, put it back in the envelope, and sat at the edge of his bed until the sun went down. That night, Mason fell asleep on his chest. Daniel stared at the ceiling. the boy's breath warm against his neck. He remembered the first time he held him. In the hospital. Amanda barely awake, hair damp, cheeks flushed. Mason's tiny body wrapped in blue cotton, his fingers gripping Daniel's thumb like a lifeline. He had never questioned it, never looked for proof. He didn't need DNA to feel love. But now he needed answers. He called Mike. I need you to dig. On what? Jordan, go back further. Any links to Amanda from before I deployed? Mike hesitated. You think she knew him before? I think she's known him longer than she'll admit. 2 days later, Mike showed up with a printed report and a look on his face Daniel hadn't seen since they breached that bomb factory outside Fallujah. Man, Mike said, this one hurts. He laid out the timeline. Jordan and Amanda worked together at Paramount Mortgage Group in 2017 office party photo. Amanda tagged on Facebook. Jordan in the background comment thread under the photo. Get a room. You too. 2 months after that. Amanda got pregnant 1 month later. Jordan left the company suddenly. No reason given. Amanda told Daniel she wanted a clean break and went fully remote. Daniel stared at the photo. Amanda, laughing, a red Solo cup in hand. Jordan, beside her, arm brushing her shoulder. Daniel leaned back. So this was before she even told me she was pregnant. Mike nodded. She lied to you from the beginning. Did she know? Hard to say, but she covered it up either way. Daniel stood on the porch that night, staring at the quiet street. A light breeze blew through the trees. Somewhere, a dog barked, and everything felt fake. His marriage, his family, his son. But Mason was still real. He was still the little boy who called him daddy and asked for pancakes with smiley faces. That bond wasn't broken. It just wasn't biological. And that meant this wasn't about blood. It was about betrayal. He didn't just lose custody. He didn't just lose Amanda. He had been used, deceived, turned into a cover story. The honorable soldier, the stable provider, the man whose name would look good on a birth certificate. Jordan had played the long game. Amanda had let him. And now Daniel had all the proof. DNA, photos, emails, lies stacked like dominoes. He could take it all public, drop a video, leak the papers, burn their reputation to the ground. But something stopped him. Not pity, not fear. Mason, the boy didn't choose any of this. He didn't lie, didn't manipulate, didn't betray. So Daniel had to be better, smarter, colder, not a victim, not a villain, a tactician. He wrote a new title in his notebook. Day 15. The DNA envelope under it. One sentence. She built a life on my name. Now I take the name back. The next day, he called Amanda. We need to talk. Face to face. She hesitated. Why? I have something to give you. Mason should be there too. Silence. Then, fine. My mom's house. Noon. He arrived early. Sat in the driveway. Breathed. Then walked to the door. Amanda answered, tense. Mason ran to him. Hugged him tight. Daniel looked down. Can you give me a minute with your mom, buddy? Mason nodded and disappeared inside. Amanda crossed her arms. If this is about court, Daniel handed her the envelope. What's this? Truth. She opened it. Read the first line. Her face went pale. Daniel said nothing. She looked up, eyes wide. Guilty. Maybe even scared. I didn't know for sure. Daniel nodded slowly. You knew enough to lie for 5 years. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't care if you did. Amanda's voice cracked. I was scared. No, he said. You were selfish. Silence. Daniel stepped forward. I'm not going to fight you for custody anymore. Amanda's eyes lit up with confusion. You're not. No. I'm going to offer something else. He pulled out a new document. Petition for non-biological parental rights. I'm filing this as a legal guardian. You'll approve it, and I'll step back from your life. No court battles. No viral videos. But I keep my son. Amanda's lip trembled. And if I say no? Daniel stared at her. Calm. Ice cold. Then I leak everything. Every lie. Every photo. Every fake filing. Jordan's past. Your sealed divorce. Your attempt to erase a decorated Marine from his own son's life. I will make sure your face trends next to the words custodial fraud. Amanda blinked. I don't want revenge, Daniel said. I want the truth to live somewhere it can't be erased. He stepped back. I'll wait for your answer. Then turned and walked away. Mason waved from the window. Daniel waved back. He wasn't his father by blood, but he'd become more than that. He was the man who stayed, the one who didn't lie, the one who'd rebuild from the ashes of betrayal. One step at a time. 3 days passed. Amanda hadn't called. She hadn't signed the paperwork either. Daniel didn't chase her. He waited. That's what predators do when the prey starts cornering itself. He spent his time wisely, cleaning the house, deepening the digital paper trail, and rewatching every piece of footage. He organized everything into a Dropbox folder labeled Truth Archive, Public Release. One click, one upload, and the entire lie would be exposed. But he didn't press that button. Not yet. He wasn't bluffing. He was giving her a final chance. Because once it went public, there would be no coming back. For her. For Jordan. For anyone who helped hide the truth. The phone rang Friday morning. A number he didn't recognize. He picked up. This is Daniel. The voice was rushed. Nervous. Female. Mr. Reeve? This is Aaron. I'm Amanda's friend. I was at her baby shower a few years ago. We met briefly. Daniel didn't respond. I don't know if this is right, or if I'm even allowed to say anything. But something's happening, and you should know. Go on. Jordan. He's been making moves behind Amanda's back. There's money. Transfers. I work at the credit union, and I noticed some irregularities when she added him as a secondary card holder. Daniel stood completely still. You're telling me she gave him access to her accounts? Joint credit, yes. But last week, 2 large withdrawals showed up from a business account she didn't even know he opened. Daniel's grip tightened on the phone. How much? Just under $30,000. And she hasn't reported it. Why not? Because he's threatening to go to court, to file for custody himself, claiming Amanda's unstable. Daniel blinked. He can't. He's trying. I just thought you'd want to know. If you have anything, you should use it. Before he does. Click. The call ended. Daniel stood in silence. Then exhaled. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a war between snakes, and he was the one holding the antidote. By noon, Daniel had everything he needed. He called Mike. I want a copy of that joint account activity. Every transfer Jordan made, especially in the last 6 weeks. I already pulled it, Mike replied. I was waiting for your green light. Send it. Minutes later, the email arrived. PDF. Clean. Crisp. Irrefutable. Jordan had transferred nearly $46,000 across multiple accounts under Amanda's name, but funneled into a dummy LLC titled Slater Family Holdings. The address linked back to a closed office space in Charlotte. A front. Fraud. And Amanda was the unknowing mule. Or maybe she knew. Either way, it was time to expose them both. Daniel didn't go to the media. Not yet. He chose something better. The school board. Mason's preschool had an active parent review committee. He sent an anonymous packet to their disciplinary and background screening office. Subject line. Urgent concern regarding guardians of enrolled child. Mason Reeve. Inside, the packet included a copy of the DNA test photos of Amanda and Jordan misleading the child, screenshots of Amanda's court manipulations, Jordan's fraudulent business registrations, the financial account trail, and finally, a legal affidavit stating Daniel's confirmed military deployment during the false divorce proceedings. He mailed it. Certified. Tracked. Time-stamped. Monday morning, Amanda called. This time, she wasn't angry. She was scared. What the hell did you send to the school? Daniel answered evenly. Truth. Don't worry. I haven't sent it to your bank, your employer, or the press. You're going to destroy everything. I'm offering one last way out. Amanda paused. I signed the guardianship. Daniel said nothing. She continued, her voice cracking. Jordan's gone. Took money, disappeared. I haven't seen him in 3 days. Daniel stayed silent. You were right, she whispered. Too late for that, he said. But not too late for Mason. She hung up. 3 hours later, Daniel received the signed form. Legal guardianship recognized by Amanda. Not full custody, but permanent visitation rights, medical decision clearance, and the legal ability to remain in Mason's life regardless of paternity. He filed it immediately. A judge certified it the next morning. It was done. Amanda could no longer erase him. But that wasn't the end. Because Jordan wasn't finished. And Daniel had no intention of letting him disappear quietly. Mike's voice came through the phone like gravel. Found him. Where? Staying at a hotel under a fake name outside Winston-Salem. Cash payments. Using burner phones. Daniel exhaled. Is he armed? Doubt it. But he's running scared. Amanda's bank just froze his accounts. Good. What now? Daniel stared out the window. Now we finish it. He drove upstate that evening. Took the highway slow. No music. Just the hum of wheels and the thought of what it took to get here. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth catching up. By the time he reached the hotel, it was nearly 1 a.m. He didn't knock on Jordan's door. He went to the front desk, flashed a military ID and the face of a man who looked like he worked security for someone important. Room 412. We have a warrant in process. I need camera access and a timestamp log of his movement. The night clerk didn't argue. Within 5 minutes, Daniel had a flash drive. He left. He didn't need to confront Jordan. He needed to document what he already knew. The next morning, he called a local reporter. Not one of the national vultures. A local journalist named Tessa Mahoney, known for hitting small-town scandals with ruthless precision. She answered on the second ring. I have a story, Daniel said. One that involves custodial fraud, identity abuse, and a fake paternity cover-up with financial manipulation attached. There was a pause. Who are you? Someone who came home in uniform and got introduced as an ex-husband to my own son's new dad. I'm listening. Daniel dropped the file at her office that evening. All of it. Unedited. Unfiltered. He didn't beg for her spin. He didn't ask for favors. He handed her the truth, then walked away. The story broke 2 days later. The headline was brutal. Military father erased by fake family. Custody fraud and financial abuse exposed. Photos of Amanda and Jordan. Video stills. Documents. The DNA result. Quotes from Daniel's petition. The article went viral within 6 hours. Reddit picked it up next. Then YouTube. Within 24 hours, Amanda deleted her Instagram. 2 days later, Jordan's face was added to a civil fraud investigation notice. And Daniel? He said nothing. He just made Mason dinner. That night, Mason curled up on the couch with his tiger. Daddy, he whispered. Are we going to be okay? Daniel nodded. Yeah, buddy. We already are. By the time Amanda's face hit the local news cycle, there was no saving the narrative. Not with the headline reading. Wife of deployed soldier lied to courts, named another man father of child, paternity fraud uncovered, her photo, clean makeup, wide smile, was everywhere. Her career at the real estate firm? Suspended. PDA chair position? Gone. Family reputation? Set on fire. The internet didn't hold back. She played house with a con man while her real husband was at war. Disgusting. This is next-level betrayal. That man deserves full custody and a damn medal. Imagine introducing the actual father as your ex. I'd lose my mind. Amanda stopped answering calls, deleted her socials, closed the blinds. But Daniel wasn't watching the hate. He wasn't reading comments. He was watching Mason. Because the world might be burning down around Amanda, but Mason? He still needed breakfast. Still needed someone to hold his hand in parking lots. Still needed someone to say, I'm proud of you, when he learned to tie his shoes without help. And Daniel was there. Every moment. Because Amanda may have created a lie, but Daniel had built a bond. And that's what would outlive the headlines. Tuesday afternoon, Amanda finally called. She didn't cry, didn't yell. She just whispered, I can't go outside. Daniel was silent. They're knocking on my door. Taking pictures. One of the moms from Mason's old school sent me death threats. You did this to yourself. I didn't think it would go that far. You thought I'd stay quiet, he replied. Just like before. Amanda paused. Then her voice dropped lower. You got what you wanted. Why are you still destroying me? Daniel sat down, steady. I didn't leak the story for revenge. I leaked it for the truth. You introduced me as your ex before you even looked me in the eyes. You lied in court. You tried to erase me. Now the truth is just louder than the lie. Amanda said nothing. Daniel added, be glad I stopped it where I did. There's still more I haven't released. Click. She hung up. The next day, Daniel got a letter in the mail. Amanda's signature. She had voluntarily withdrawn all custody challenges and agreed to long-term supervised visitation. No contest. No courtroom. She'd caved. Mason's legal guardianship? Daniel now held it fully. He stared at the paper for a long time. Not because he was celebrating, but because 5 weeks ago, Amanda was smiling at the neighbors, pretending he was nobody. Now the system she built had turned to ash, and he hadn't thrown a single punch. Friday came fast. Mason's class had Heroes Day. Kids were told to bring someone who made them feel brave. Daniel didn't ask. He just showed up. Wore a simple dark jacket. Pressed jeans. Carried a framed photo of him and Mason on the porch, wrapped in a small American flag blanket. As he stepped into the classroom, the kids buzzed with excitement. Moms and dads, grandparents, some in scrubs, some in uniforms, some in faded hoodies. Mason ran up to Daniel and grinned. I told them you were a real hero. Daniel knelt. I level. You did. I said you save people, and that you always come back. Daniel hugged him, tight. A teacher walked over, smile wide. So you're the famous Mr. Reeve. Mason talks about you nonstop. Daniel stood, polite. I'm lucky he lets me. When Mason took the stage to present his hero, the whole room went quiet. The boy held the photo high. This is my dad. He went far away so people could be safe. He taught me how to be strong. He makes pancakes like smiley faces. And even when bad stuff happens, he stays. Daniel didn't move. Couldn't. Because in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not DNA. Not courtrooms. Not betrayal. Just that. That boy. That sentence. He stays. After school, they got ice cream. Mason smeared chocolate on his cheeks. Daniel handed him napkins and watched him laugh through a brain freeze. You okay, Dad? Daniel raised an eyebrow. Why wouldn't I be? Because people say mean things about Mommy. Daniel nodded slowly. She made some bad choices. But you know what? Everyone messes up sometimes. What matters is what you choose after. Mason licked his spoon. I'm glad you're still here. I always will be. The boy leaned into him, resting his head on Daniel's side. Just like that. No drama. No court filing. Just trust. But peace doesn't last forever. Because liars never stay buried. And Jordan? Jordan wasn't done running. Mike called the next night. We've got movement. Where? Jordan resurfaced at a bar in South Carolina. Used a stolen ID, got into a fight. Arrested. He's in custody. Daniel stood. Charges. Fake identity, fraud, resisting arrest, and probable connection to multiple financial crimes. The feds are looking at him. Daniel nodded. Good. Mike's voice dropped lower. One more thing. What? He had documents in his bag. One of them was a fake birth certificate, with your name removed as Mason's father, replaced with his. Daniel went still. He was planning to vanish. Take the kid. Daniel's voice came out like a knife. Not anymore. The next morning, Daniel called the federal agent listed on the arrest report. He provided everything. The joint bank data, the screenshots, the civil court evidence, and Jordan's connection to multiple identity frauds. The agent didn't need convincing. They said Jordan would be processed federally. Will I need to testify? Daniel asked. Not yet, but we may use your file for court exhibits. Use all of it. Daniel didn't tell Mason what happened. Not yet. The boy had been through enough. But he did sit with him that night, watching old cartoons. And when Mason leaned over and asked, Do I have to go back to Mommy's house soon? Daniel just shook his head. Not for a long time. Amanda's name was still in the system, but her control was gone. She sent one last message. A quiet email. I've decided to move to Arizona for a while. Start over. I'm sorry. Daniel didn't reply. He archived it. Because her chapter was closed. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about what came after. After the war. After the lie. After the pain. And what came after was peace. Earned. Undeniable. Real. 2 weeks had passed since Jordan's arrest. Daniel didn't celebrate. Didn't post. Didn't brag. He just stayed steady. Mason's schedule became normal again. School, snacks, Saturday cartoons. Daniel re-enrolled him in Little League, kept every court document scanned and backed up in triplicate, and set up a trust fund using the last of his re-enlistment bonus. It wasn't flashy. It was quiet rebuilding. Because when you've been through war, on the battlefield and at home, you stop craving applause. You start craving peace. But peace doesn't mean silence. It means being ready. And Daniel was. Which is why, when a letter arrived from the county registrar's office marked birth certificate update request denied, he didn't panic. He read every word. This document was recently flagged for attempted alteration by a third party under the name Jordan Slater. Daniel sat back. The system had caught it. Even after arrest, Jordan had tried to erase him again. He could have ignored it. But something about the timing didn't sit right. Why now? Jordan was already done. Booked. Frozen out. So who was still pulling strings? Daniel called the registrar's office directly. Who submitted the request? He asked. Name was Jordan Slater, but we found inconsistencies. What address was used? There was a pause. Actually, sir, the paperwork was filed from an IP address tied to a real estate office. Daniel stiffened. Which one? Paramount Group, Raleigh branch. Amanda's old office. She had accessed it remotely. Daniel felt the chill crawl up his spine. Amanda said she was done. She said she was moving. She said she signed everything. But she still had her fingers in the system, trying to rewrite history. One last time. He drove there in person, dressed sharp, neutral. He walked straight to the front desk, asked for the IT supervisor, and handed him a court order for system access. Fraud investigation, Daniel said. Need login timestamps. IP trace. Anything connected to the name Slater. 2 hours later, the report hit his inbox. Amanda had logged in under a ghost employee profile, fired months ago. She used the terminal 5 separate times. Tried to submit a birth certificate correction, redirect Mason's school records, and even edit health insurance dependencies. She wasn't starting over in Arizona. She was staying right here. Still lying. Still covering tracks. Still manipulating behind the curtain. Daniel didn't go to her. He didn't call. He went to her boss. A man named Mark Sullivan. Managing director. Old school. Suits and paper contracts. Daniel laid the evidence on his desk. Your employee used your office to commit identity fraud while under ongoing investigation. Mark's face fell. Jesus, I don't want your company. I don't want your money. But if she uses your systems again, I'll file for full prosecution. No more warnings. Mark nodded once. The next morning, Amanda's employment was terminated. Publicly. Her credentials revoked. Her keycards deactivated. Another door shut. Another mask dropped. But Daniel wasn't finished. There was one piece still missing. A final chapter he needed to close. He reached out to the Adoption and Guardianship Division. Can I formally request a name revision for guardianship documents? The woman on the phone asked gently, What do you want to change? He said, I wanted to say father. She hesitated. There's a legal distinction between guardian and biological. I know, he said. But he doesn't. The paperwork arrived 2 weeks later. Daniel Reeve. Legal father, guardian, medical proxy, and full custodial signatory for Mason Reeve. No asterisk. No parentheses. Just one title. Father. That weekend, he and Mason built a treehouse. Rented the tools. Bought the wood together. Sanded, hammered, painted. Mason picked the colors, blue and silver like a superhero lair. On the final plank, they carved a message in block letters. This is our fort. No lies allowed. Daniel smiled. This yours now, buddy. Mason beamed. Ours. Daniel nodded. Ours. Sunday afternoon, a letter arrived. No return address. Just a note, handwritten in sharp black ink. I thought I was protecting him. I thought the lie would fade. But now I see it'll never go away. I hope one day you both find peace. Amanda. He burned it. No response. No reaction. Because her words meant nothing now. She had her chances. She made her choices. And Daniel? He'd made his. To stay. To fight. Not with fists, but with facts. And to prove that a real father doesn't need to be written in blood. He just needs to show up. Every single day. 2 months passed. Amanda was silent. No calls. No visits. No sudden court petitions. Daniel stayed watchful. Because betrayal didn't always end with a bang. Sometimes it crawled back in, dressed as forgiveness, pretending it had changed. But Daniel wasn't that man anymore. He didn't flinch when the mail came. He didn't pause when he saw her name on old papers. He just kept moving forward. Until the knock came. Late afternoon. Mason was playing outside. Daniel opened the door expecting a neighbor. But it wasn't. The man standing there was early 40s, sharp suit, dark eyes. He didn't introduce himself. He just said, "I think we've both been lied to by the same woman." Daniel stepped outside, closed the door behind him. Start talking. The man's name was Grant Hallbrook, CEO of a regional logistics company. Wealthy, private, no social media. He'd been engaged to Amanda 3 years ago. Daniel's brow furrowed. 3 years ago, I was still deployed. Grant nodded. Exactly. She told me she was divorced. Claimed her ex abandoned her and the child. Abandoned? Grant pulled out his phone. Showed an old selfie. Amanda and Mason posed in front of a fireplace. Daniel's fireplace. She told me she was a single mother raising a boy on her own. Claimed her ex was unstable. Dangerous. Daniel clenched his jaw. She wore a ring. Said we'd eloped, but hadn't told anyone yet. Said she wanted to build slowly. Daniel exhaled. Why are you telling me this now? Grant's eyes narrowed. Because she took $80,000 from me. Claimed she was starting a family business. Disappeared 2 weeks before we were supposed to sign the lease. Canceled her number. Ghosted my entire office. Daniel didn't blink. She conned you, he said. Grant nodded. She conned us both. He paused. And I want to bring her down. But I can't do it alone. Daniel looked him over. Another casualty of the same lie. Amanda didn't just rewrite stories, she sold them. For profit. For cover. For control. Daniel opened the door wider. Come in. They sat in silence while Mason napped. Grant laid out the timeline. It all lined up. Amanda had begun her relationship with Jordan while still reeling in Grant, using Mason as emotional bait. She juggled both men for months. Claimed one was an ex, the other a secret fiancé. She used Grant's money to fix the house, pay off court fees, and create the illusion of independence. Jordan had been the muscle. Grant had been the wallet. Daniel? He'd been the scapegoat. The reliable soldier who made her story believable. She played us all, Grant said. And now she thinks she's gotten away with it. Daniel slid a flash drive across the table. She hasn't. Together, they built the final phase. Not legal. Not viral. Financial. Grant had connections. Bankers, investigators, accountants. He flagged Amanda's fake business accounts, froze her pending tax returns, and opened a formal complaint with the IRS under his corporate legal team. Daniel added everything he had: fraudulent co-signatures, false tax filings, sealed documents altered through her old job. They weren't taking her to court. They were taking her to audit. A slow, painful freeze of every asset she ever touched under false pretenses. No drama. No police sirens. Just letters. Unpaid bills. Suspended accounts. Every lock she once picked, now turning against her. The storm hit within 10 days. Daniel got the text first. From Amanda. Did you do this? He didn't reply. Because he didn't have to. The truth didn't need an answer. It just needed weight. That night, Grant called. She's contacted my office. Begging to negotiate. Daniel kept his voice even. What are you going to do? Nothing. Let her sweat. Then Grant paused. You know, I don't care about the money anymore. It's about the principle. It's about the fact that she used your kid as a weapon. You deserved better. Daniel didn't say thank you. Just said, so did Mason. 2 weeks later, Amanda's house went up for sale. Her bank filed a lien. The state launched a quiet investigation. Her new job offer in Arizona, pulled. Real estate license, suspended. Her name didn't trend. No flashing headlines this time. Just the quiet unraveling of someone who built everything on a lie and finally ran out of places to hide it. Daniel didn't celebrate. He just took Mason for ice cream. They sat on a park bench, cones melting fast. Mason looked up. Is mommy okay? Daniel thought for a second, then answered honestly. She's figuring things out. But she made some mistakes. Big ones. Mason nodded slowly. You didn't leave me. No, bud. I never will. Even if I mess up? Daniel smiled. Especially then. That night, Daniel opened his notebook. New page. New title. Day 29. The other man she lied to, he wrote one line beneath it. Her lies built a world. But the truth burned it down from every side. Rain tapped against the courtroom windows like a slow, steady clock. Daniel sat at the wooden bench in the back row, blazer buttoned, boots polished. Not in uniform. Not for this. Mason was with his aunt, coloring dinosaurs, probably. He didn't need to be here. Amanda entered 15 minutes late. No makeup. No smile. Her lawyer spoke quietly to her, but she barely nodded. Today wasn't a trial. There was no jury. Just a final appearance for case closure. Court verification that Amanda had forfeited all rights to future parental control. Daniel wasn't here to watch her fall. He was here to close the file. When the judge entered, Amanda didn't look up. The room stayed quiet as the clerk reviewed the documents. Case number. Full name of the minor. Guardian record. Emergency orders. Everything Daniel had built. Every file, every paper, every quiet step toward the truth was now stacked neatly in a folder with his name at the top. Not hers. Not Jordan's. His. The judge scanned the final summary. Mr. Reeve, do you understand that this formalizes permanent guardianship? I do. You retain legal and medical decision-making rights, as well as educational authority? Yes. And you accept all responsibility, full and final? Daniel nodded. Yes, Your Honor. Amanda didn't speak. The judge turned to her. Ms. Reeve, do you have any objections to the guardianship remaining as filed? Amanda's lips parted. No sound came. Her attorney whispered again. She finally shook her head. No. The judge paused, then signed the final page. Stamped it once. Then this case is now closed. Bang. Just like that. Not with a scream. Not with a scandal. With a signature. Outside, the rain had stopped. Amanda lit a cigarette under the awning, hands trembling. Daniel walked past her. She didn't try to stop him, but she spoke. I lost everything. Daniel kept walking. You kept the only thing that mattered, she said quietly. He stopped, turned his head halfway. I didn't keep him, Daniel said. I showed up. Every day. That's all. Then he walked into the parking lot, got into his truck, and drove home. That night, Mason sat on the couch, wrapped in a blue blanket, eating popcorn with too much salt. Can we finish the movie from last time? He asked. Daniel nodded. Yeah, bud. The screen flickered back to life. A cartoon hero stood on top of a mountain, cape flapping in the wind. Mason smiled. That guy's brave. Daniel looked over. You think so? Yeah, Mason nodded. But not like you. Daniel didn't answer. He just placed a hand on his son's back and pulled him closer. Not a word needed. Just presence. The kind that doesn't vanish. Doesn't betray. Doesn't lie. The kind that stays. Later, after Mason fell asleep with popcorn still in the bowl, Daniel walked outside. The porch light buzzed. He stood there a long while, listening to the quiet, watching the wind. No more fights. No more files. Just a boy inside, safe. A house that finally felt like home again. And a future Amanda couldn't rewrite. He didn't need a headline. He didn't need a revenge post to go viral. He won. Because he kept the one thing that couldn't be faked. Mason's trust. And that made him unbreakable. She called him broken. but he built something unbreakable. Where in the world are you watching this story from? Drop your city or country in the comments. We'd love to know where this reached you. And if this story moved you, if Daniel's journey hit you deep, or made you feel something real, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. And if you want more powerful, emotional stories like this one, make sure to subscribe. This is just the beginning.